Bum 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 bum. The Peter Shit Show. Bum 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 bum. I'm gonna call my podcast the Peter Shit Show today because I had a pretty shitty day. Not a bad day, but a day that made me lose hope for my community and maybe humanity in general. As you guys know, I've been trying to find some balance in my life, especially in terms of healthy eating and mindful eating, especially. And ever since I started mindfully eating, I cannot watch anybody eat anymore. It grosses me out the way some people take a burger that might be your typical size and they bite out like a quarter of it. And I cannot watch that. Earlier today, I had to excuse myself to go to the bathroom and almost barf. I really did have to get excuse myself because I wasn't feeling well after I watched that, after my experience, and I in order to help myself realize that's not the right thing to do, I actually went up to the guy to kind of say hello to him and say, "Gee, that's a big bite," and he gave me an attitude about that. The reason I went up to him to talk to him about it was not to point out to him how disgusting it was. It was to reinforce myself. Don't do that. And unfortunately, he took it the wrong way. And also, it helps to give gentle taps of reminders to your fellow man, right? I'm sure most people want what's best for themselves, and sometimes a little bit of a personal reminder, like, "Gee, that's a big bite. We could maybe slow down and enjoy our food a little bit more," right? It gave me a big attitude over that, which is all right, except that I got pretty grossed out watching that. I'll have to think about what to do during lunchtime these days because everywhere I go, I get very grossed out. Even when I go to the Whole Foods cafeteria, which is probably the safest place in terms of not seeing that kind of behavior, even then I cannot seem to get a reprieve from that. Um, and that's kind of unfortunate. It makes me want to leave the country. We keep talking about stagflation and how many people are going to go hungry. Let's Go Brandon just increased our food stamps because of how many people are going to go hungry. But you know what? How many people actually go hungry that starve to death here in the United States? It's a number in the two-digit range, if you can believe it. And a big chunk of that is probably people with anorexia or some other issue like that, right? Or people who have some kind of cancer and don't have an appetite. That's the kind of person who starves to death. Few people do it because of financial constraint, right? And yeah, if food prices go up, people will have to spend more for. Nobody's going to starve to death. They might not be able to buy their big screen TV after spending their money on food. Sure, I can, but that's not hunger, right? Most people around the world realize we don't call that hunger. Only here in the United States are people so confused about it, right? I was just reading about how during the pandemic, how much of our uh, welfare went to fraud, right? People sold their food stamps or whatever. But you know what? People don't need to sell their food stamps. They use their food stamps for food, and then they use whatever money they were going to spend on food to buy that big screen TV or to buy drugs or whatever, right? Um, that probably happens way more than the official fraud, right? We don't call that fraud for some reason, right? All right, thought I would point that out. And then I also got pretty grossed out about a former roommate of mine. He had broken up out of two relationships within the space of 3 weeks, and he lost his mind over it. Every day he was like, talking about the breakup and drinking. He wasn't a heavy drinker, but I still felt it was a waste when there were so many things going on. Right during the time he was complaining about breaking up, I went out to see Mario movie. I saw the moon come into conjunction with all the planets. That happens once a month. I wrote a number of computer games, and yes, I did break up as well. But he cried over it and drank over, it, and I did all these things. I don't know why people have to cry and drink over breaking up. I really don't. So my message is two things: take smaller bites of your food, enjoy it, and if the price goes up, enjoy it that much more. And don't cry over breaking up. Graduate over breaking up. I'm going to repeat that again, just in case you didn't hear it. Enjoy your food. Graduate from your relationships. This is the Peter Shit Show.